Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my 4-dimension dragon Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for March 2021. This is a deck that focuses on the 4 dragons that were the main focus of the Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5 anime, being Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, and Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I always was a fan of the 4 dragons from this series, so I wanted to focus on a deck profile that incorporated all 4 of the different dragons into one deck. Now this is going to be a deck that focuses on the Pendulum engine with a few other cards from Performapal and some other tech choices mixed in to make the deck work. I considered running a deck that used Performapal's Predaplants, Phantom Knights, and Speed Roys all into one deck, and that would definitely be one big mashup of a monstrosity of a deck. And if you want to see that in the future, I'll definitely consider it. It'll be a terrible deck at that, but definitely probably fun for sure just to try and make work. But for now, we're sticking to the dragons and magicians that all work very, very well to summon these 4 dragons out into one deck profile. So let's go ahead and get started. So probably the easiest one to summon out of all the different dimension dragons would be Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. We're running 3 of them in the deck. Just a powerhouse of a card. If this card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage this card inflicts to your opponent is doubled. And also from the pendulum scale, just being able to search out different pendulum monsters during the end phase by destroying this card and then adding a pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. You can only use it once per turn, but this opens up so many different plays that we have available to us, so you definitely want this for the search option. And it was also Yuya Sakaki's main go-to monster, so very, very useful for this card being able to go into any of the other variants of the fusion monsters mixed in, like Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, and some of the other variants from the manga, like Starving Venom Lethal Dose Dragon, and also Dark Endelion Dragon. You have all these different options. We still need Odd Eyes Wing Dragon. Still waiting for that in the TCG. I can't believe we haven't gotten it yet, but hopefully when we do, I'll bring an update to all of these different decks, with that being a big focus also. For the additional Odd Eyes Dragon support, I also run 3 Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. If an Odd Eyes card you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special summon 1 Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Arc Pendulum once per turn. Being the different scale compared to Odd Eyes is a big help there, being a scale 8. For Pendulum, summoning out Odd Eyes back onto the field. But we also have some options with some of the different Odd Eyes monsters we run in the extra deck if these cards are destroyed, just giving us a free special summon of an Odd Eyes from the main deck onto the field. So I also like running 3 of this card. It can even be just another Pendulum onto the field using this card and Odd Eyes to summon out more Odd Eyes and more Odd Eyes Arc Pendulums onto the field to use, which then can also be met for the requirements for our 1 fusion monster, which is our Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which needs 2 dark monsters on the field except for Token, which both these monsters can meet the requirements for that. For the Pendulum engine, now for the deck, I do run the 3 Chronograph Sorcerer and the 1 Time Gazer Magician. The Time Gazer, very, very important for the fact that our go-to Synchro monster, which is Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, is a level 7 monster, and using the Pendulum monsters in this deck as a go-to tuner focus, having a level 3 like Time Gazer Magician on the deck to use is very, very crucial for that, being able to then just set Chronograph Sorcerer in the Pendulum scale to summon out Time Gazer, which I'll go over at the end of the video, how to summon out each individual monster with this deck for that focus. But this is just another great scale setup, or just a free additional monster on the field to use. For some other additional Pendulum monsters, I also run 3 Harmonizing Magician. This is great for the Xyz option, being able to summon out with the requirement for Dark Rebellion, being probably one of the easiest of all the Dimensional Dragons to level 4 monsters. So being able to just special summon one of those out with Harmonizing Magician. You can even just summon Time Gazer with Harmonizing onto the field and go for the level 7 Synchro through there. But if you summon out any of the other level 4 options, it could just be the overlay for that play to go into. I also run 3 Wisdom Eye Magician. This card just helps to set up our scales with the proper ones on the field to use, so then we can Pendulum summon out a bunch of different monsters that we've saved up in the extra deck to go for. And for some of the lower numbers, I also run 2 Purple Poison Magician. This is the Odd Eyes variant destruction card, being able to, if your Dark Spellcaster monster battles, being able to gain additional damage and then destroy this card. And when it's destroyed, you can target a face-up card on the field and destroy it. But it's great for the different scale options. Also being a Dark Attribute monster helps for setting up for Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I also run the 2 Black Fang Magician, having kind of a Dark Rebellion Rebellion monster effect for this card. Very, very useful, but also just another level 4 option if we need to Xyz into it. For more recovery options, I run 2 Oath Dragon Magician. We do run the option for Performapal popper up in the deck, so being able to have some of our monsters set up in the graveyard when this card's normal or special summon, being able to target a Magician Pendulum or Odd Eyes in our graveyard and add it to our hand. For the fact that we can add Odd Eyes as well is a great option for both of the different search options we run in the deck. I like to run 2 of it though, because you most of the time are just going to set it up in the Pendulum scale to recover cards from your extra deck, which you can easily do when you set Wisdom Eye and then destroy Wisdom Eye for Oath Dragon Magician. And then for some of the lower numbers, I run 1 Zhang Magician, 1 White Wing Magician, and 1 Double Iris Magician. You're not limited to the synchro plays you can do with White Wing Magician. Just when it's Pendulum Summon, if it's used for a synchro summon, you banish it. Well, it's that one play you're going to go for your Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Double Iris being able to search out the different Pendulum Graph cards from our deck to our hand, which we run the Star Pendulum Graph for search power, and the Zhang Magician can adjust our Xyz monsters to be used as a level for the Xyz plays, making it that much better for us to go into Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon for those different plays also. And then for the Performapal engine, I didn't want to mash all the different variants, but the Performapal engine was kind of meant to work very, very well for the playstyle that the Magicians and the different Dimension Dragons were meant to do. So I'm running 2 Performapal Celestial Magician. I considered running 3 of this card. If you wanted to bump this card up to 3, I could show which of the Performapals you can take out for a 3rd copy of this card. When exactly 1 face-up Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz monster you control that was special summoned from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon that destroyed monster, then destroy this card. You can only use this effect of Performapal Celestial Magician once per turn. So it's kind of like the guardian of the different Dimension Dragons, being able to protect them by destroying itself to summon them back out onto the field. And during your main phase, if this card was normal or special summon this turn, you can apply the following effect for the rest of this turn based on the other monsters you currently control, which can be a good variety of them. If it's a fusion, this card can attack directly. Synchro, your opponent cannot activate monster effects. And Xyz, this card's attack becomes double its original attack. And for Pendulum, during the end phase, add 1 Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. It's kind of going off the different cards, with Starving Venom going for the attacking damage, Synchro being able to stop monster effects, Xyz doubling Dark Rebellion would do, and Odd Eyes search effect for the last one. Very, very useful for this card. For the other Performapals, I also run 2 Performapal Yugioh Golem. I didn't really want to rely on the polymerization play in the deck, but Yugioh Golem with our different dragon monsters we run can help for those fusion plays. During the main phase of this card's Pendulum Summon this turn, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using this card you control and dragon type monsters you control. So it doesn't just have to be Odd Eyes. Even if you have Dark Rebellion on the field or any of the other dragons in the extra deck, as long as they match up for the requirements for Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, you can use them with Yugioh Golem as well for the playstyle. So very, very fun when you can do that, as long as it was Pendulum Summon this turn. And then lastly, the 1 Performapal Trump Witch. I don't really run polymerization in the deck, but it's more here just for the scale setup if you need for the fusion play. Being able to fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material. And it doesn't have to be Starving Venom. We have other fusion options in the extra deck to go into as well, including our Starving Venomy Lethal Dose Dragon, which just needs 3 Dark Pendulum monsters, which can easily be required as well using Yugioh Golem, or even Performapal Celestial Magician, and many of the other Pendulum Magician monsters we're running. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. Just for more search power, the 3 Pendulum Call, I would say, is still very important. Being able to protect our Pendulum Scales and then just search out the proper ones we need, depending on the play we're going to go for, whether it be a Fusion or a Xyz, or even down to a Synchro play. We have all of them available to us for that. And then even just going into the main Pendulum play with our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon is very, very important for that. For more of the search power in the deck, I run 3 Performapal Popper Up. You send up to 3 cards from your hand at the graveyard to draw that many cards. Then you can special summon up to that many monsters from your hand with different names that are Performapal monsters, Magician Pendulum monsters, and or Odd Eyes monsters, each with levels between the Pendulum Scales of 2 cards in your Pendulum Zone. If you did not special summon, you take 1,000 points for each one in your hand. So with this, you're going to more than likely go for the special summon for your Pendulum plays, and this just helps to increase the amount of different plays you can do in the deck by providing you with more cards that you can then summon out onto the field. Just make sure you have some proper scale set up with all the different scale 8s and scale 1s that we're running in the deck. It's very easy to do so also, just being able to have this different setup using this card, and then having your graveyard set up, like I said before, to recover cards with Oath Dragon Magician if you were to summon it also. for some of the lower numbers for the spells, I decided to try out the Super Polymerization play. Just being able to get out Starving Venom during the battle phase is why I wanted to try this card out in the deck. Only running 2 of it though. We have other fusion options, including Yugioh Golem and also Trump Witch. So if you didn't want to try the Super Polymerization play, you can also try just sticking normal polymerization into this spot, being another search option with your Trump Witch, and then the other Super Polymerization can be taken out for a 3rd copy of Celestial Magician if you wanted to go this route. If you want to keep the Super Polymerizations in but keep and increase your Celestial Magician numbers, you can also just try taking out Trump Witch and putting a 3rd copy of Celestial Magician in while keeping in the Super Polymerizations, because they can still work well, not just for Starving Venom like I said before, but for many of our other different fusion monsters we're running in the extra deck. And then lastly, to finish off the spells, just the 1-star Pendulum Graph. Your opponent cannot target spellcaster monsters you control with spell cards or effects, and if a face-up Magician Pendulum leaves your monster zone or Pendulum zone, you can add another one. So just a good setup. It's searchable with double Iris Magician as well. That's why I'm only running the 1 of it. And for the traps, the only trap I'm running in the deck is Pendulum Dimension. This is another card that you can potentially increase the numbers of by taking down the numbers of Super Polymerization, if you wished, in the deck. Also, the Performapal, Odd Eyes, Wizard could be another potential card to take out for Super Polymerization, but more player preference at that point. But Pendulum Dimension, if you special summon any of these monsters using Pendulum monsters, while this card is already face up in your spell and trap card zone, you can activate the appropriate effect, and you can apply the same effect of Pendulum Dimension for the rest of this turn. For Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz, this card provides just search power and also just additional special summon to set up more and more additional plays in the deck, going off of which one you summon, with Xyz being able to add a tuner, Synchro being able to add a polymerization from your deck to your hand, and Fusion being the special summon of a monster from your deck with the same original level as that fusion monster to go for the Xyz play, all going into one other. This is another option for the polymerization add, if you were to do so, like I said, taking out the Super Polymerization for 1 copy of the polymerization spell. But once again, more going off the fact if you do succeed in making that play, depending on which one you have a preference more of, is what one you'll basically want to go for more in the deck. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. Our main go-to monsters. We're going to start off with these cards first, then we'll go in the order for each appropriate monster in the extra deck. But we run 1 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I know we run 3 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, but this is the main deck we're talking about, so a little more consistency there, since we can go into these cards whenever we want for the appropriate plays. But having all these different options, definitely fun when you can try and summon out all 4 onto the field. Like I said, I'll show how you can summon out each one the easiest way in the deck, and then it all just comes down to summoning them out appropriately when you have the resources available to you. For the other monsters in the extra deck, I run 1 Time Star Magician, just more search consistency, and being able to go into the Xyz option, definitely useful there. 1 Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon for the level 7 dragon plays that you can go into, and then having the option to go into Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon is always a benefit as well. 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon for the Genki plays. I'll show you the best way to go about it. Same with Dark Anthelion Dragon for all of the different Xyz plays, benefiting from having the Xyz monster attached. For the Synchro monsters, I also run 1 additional Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon and 1 Enlightenment Paladin for the situations where if you don't want to go into Clearwing and you see a more appropriate play with Meteor Burst Dragon, you have the same Synchro option to go into using your Time Gazer and your Tuner monsters. For the fusions, I run 1 Starving Venomy Lethal Dose Dragon. For the big fusion plays that you can go into, this is definitely a powerhouse to rely on, and the Odd Eyes Vortex is mostly gone into when I have Absolute Dragon set up. I do run 1 Supreme King Zark. We do have the Chronograph Sorcerer. If you have the resources to summon out Zark, this isn't really a Zark-focused deck since we're not running any of the Supreme Kings, but still a cool powerhouse option to run and rely on with Chronograph Sorcerer also. And for the Link monsters, I run 1 Cross Shape, probably one of the best Link 2s to run in the deck currently, since we have all the different extra deck monster options available to us. Same with Zephyr Metaltron, more special summon resources, and the 1 Apollosa for all the different monsters we can easily summon out. This is great Link 4 just to summon out and then stop our opponent's monster effects. And as for the go-to plays in the deck to summon out each additional dragon, with Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon being the easiest one to summon out, all you have to do is rely on having the proper scales set up on the field, and then being able to pendulum summon this card, whether it be from the extra deck onto the field, or even from your hand onto the field, and also relying on Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon for the other scale. If you have this card set up, and one other Odd Eyes card you control is destroyed, it gives you an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon from the main deck onto the field. So this one is definitely one of the main and easiest ways to summon out for the deck. With the other ones, you can rely on Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon in pretty much the same similar way, having your scales set up in the deck, and then relying on just having 2 level 4 monsters to pendulum summon out onto the field, and then being able to go into the overlay into Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. You can even go for the one-of play of Harmonizing Magician and then summoning out the monster off of Harmonizing, giving you the 2 monsters for your Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. For Clearwing Synchro Dragon, we're a little more limited with this card's plays. With this one, for the same option, summoning out Harmonizing Magician, and then for this one, going into the Time Gazer Magician Summon is the 2 requirements for the level 7 play of Clearwing Synchro Dragon. If you have even just Time Gazer in your hand, going the reverse option. For the Pendulum Summon, you can even just have Harmonizing on the field, or even your White Wing Magician be the requirements for the cards to go into the level 7 play. For the last one, being Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, if you were to summon this card out, you just need the 2 dark attribute monsters, and then either having the Polymerization or the Super Polymerization in your hand, or relying on pendulum summoning out the Yugioh Golem and having a dragon monster on the field can be the easiest requirements to fusion summon into Starving Venom, since you have to have 2 of the monsters on the field to summon. Is another reason why I prefer the Super Polymerization to the Polymerization, since you have the requirements right then and there, and giving you a battle phase option. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is definitely one of the more fun Dimension Dragon builds, but I also love working on all the different forms of Odd Eyes for the different deck builds. I'll definitely be focusing on some of the other Dimension Dragons as well in some of the upcoming videos, so definitely look forward to that. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.